Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the Visibility Wiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Wiz, and welcome to this episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less. Today, our guest is Kathryn Calhoun, and for over a decade, she has been helping small business owners, health practitioners, entrepreneurs, and coaches get unstuck and thrive in their business. She's known as the Get Clients Online mentor, and Kathryn loves to help her clients stop struggling with all the techie stuff so that they can monetize their businesses quickly in just days or weeks, not months or years. She's also a wife and a mom to a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old girls, and she's the breadwinner in her family. Kathryn is living proof that running a thriving online business is not only fulfilling, but also the gateway to what you want most in life: travel, family time, or anything else that you dream of. Welcome, Kathryn.
Cindy, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you and to be on your awesome podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you too. And to get started, I always ask the guests to describe a challenge, personal or business, that you had to overcome in order to achieve your level of success.
You know what? I think my biggest challenge, it's so interesting that you're a visibility expert, Cindy, because that was really, I think though, for me, the big challenge was the willingness to be visible. And, as you mentioned, I'm a super techie person. I, kind of grew up in my industry supporting other entrepreneurs in them getting visible, especially on the internet, getting their websites going, launching courses, all that kind of stuff. But I was always like the background person, and I was really happy to just kind of live in the shadows and support other people's success and just not be seen. And after I had my kids, I actually, all of a sudden it was like I was taking care of my clients, I was taking care of my children, I was taking care of my family. And it was like, somehow I almost felt like I had kind of been edged out of my own life. And it was like, I really one day had this sort of like, just this kind of download into my body. Like I'm like the supporting actress in everybody else's life and not the leading lady of my own life. And, I know
win the Oscar of your
life. Yeah. I mean, I started to at least have that, like, maybe not win the Oscar, but maybe at least like get on the stage a little bit. And that was kind of the beginning of it. But as soon as I sort of had that kind of calling within me to like play a bigger role and in my own life and have a career where I was kind of the front person for the business as opposed to someone else being that person, then all of a sudden now I'm having to really confront my fears of being visible. And for me, that was a struggle. It was really scary to start putting myself out there and kind of just stand on the merits of my own message and just kind of see how that was going to land with people. And are people going to think I'm like an imposter, or are they going to think what I have to say is stupid? Or, it's like all of those things that we have, those just that nobody else is ever thinking when we're talking, but we're always our own worst critics. And so for me, that was a big one, was being willing to step into that and through it, even though I was like totally terrified.
Was it mostly being terrified of being visible per video, or was it even putting your name on an article?
Not so much. I would say putting my name on an article would be less scary. My background is in writing marketing copy. And so that's kind of something I'm actually pretty comfortable with, but it wasn't, video was definitely the scariest, but as far as like the different media options, but it was almost like fear, like of just getting my message out there in any way, shape, or form, and having me be the person that's like in a coaching capacity versus in a just like
supporting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that part was scary.
It was the transition between going from the supporting role to the lead role.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
I'm sure there was a lot of comparisons there. That's what I always hear a lot of people say, even myself included, is you start comparing yourself to all those people that you used to support.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for sure. I believe so many people have that fear, and that's why I'm elaborating a little bit on it.
Yeah.
Because, it's something definitely we've all gone through, and it's just sort of pushing ourselves through it and knowing and just grabbing evidence that, hey, if one person likes it, there's going to be 1,000 people out there that like it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
We are meant to serve the people we're meant to serve, and if we don't share our gifts, then they're being cheated.
Yeah, you're doing them a disservice for sure. And the more you're willing to kind of put yourself out there and be willing to kind of take that risk and actually have the potential of experiencing that feeling of serving in your own unique way and having someone just like falling all over themselves, appreciating you for exactly who you are and exactly what your brilliance is. That is such a powerful reward. It's so motivational. It's like this huge pat on the back from the universe that you are doing what you're meant to be doing, that you're heading in the right direction. And so it's, although, and I will say that's the interesting thing, it's like, it's not like this was my first opportunity to push myself to become visible. But once I started to really land on what is it that I'm really passionate about, what is it that I really want to be helping people with, then all of a sudden the fear part of things, it still was really very like viscerally real, but it wasn't strong enough to stand in my way anymore. I had this thing in me that was willing to push past that fear. Whereas I think before, when I was like, oh, well, maybe I could be like just teaching copywriting, or maybe I could be doing this, or maybe I could be like all the sort of ideas that I thought, like, we're entrepreneurs. We all have these ideas that things we could be doing. But I would bump into that visibility fear with those ideas that didn't like just light me up as much. And then the fear would hold me back. But it was only when I really was like, oh my God, like this is something I really need to be helping people with. People are so struggling with the techie stuff. People are giving up on their dreams as entrepreneurs simply because this one little piece is in the way. And I know that I can help them. I know that I can make this easy for them. And it's not going to cost them like zillions of dollars to fix it. It was like, I knew that I had this in me. And then all of a sudden, just like what you're talking about the, you're really like, you're kind of cheating people by not putting yourself out there. It's just like all of a sudden it gave me the courage to step into that, to step through the fear. Cause the fear still was terrifying, but it wasn't enough to keep me small anymore.
I commend you for stepping through
Thanks.
it. Very glad that you did step through it.
Thank you.
I love the way that you do teach about the technical stuff. I know that you recently wrote an article called 10 Fatal Entrepreneur Mistakes That Will Ruin Your Business. And, now, I will post a link to this article because I love the article. And we don't have time to go over all 10 of them.
No.
But one of the fatal mistakes you stated is that people do not grow a list. So I'd like for you to elaborate on this, and why is it so important to grow a list to get clients?
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for, first of all, thank you for reading my blog. It's, I pour my heart and my soul into that. So it's nice to know people are reading it. Growing a list I'll say, let me preface everything I'm about to say by like, I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs are really tired of hearing like, how to grow your email list, how to do blah, blah, blah. And like, how to get thousands of people on your email list overnight. And there is this big sort of push from internet marketing experts. You see them in your Facebook ad feed all the time, like how to grow your email list. And the reason that it's so important, the reason I think that it comes up so much is because it really does. It's okay. I will say it's not actually essential to have an email list to be able to make money on the internet. But what happens is that it gets a whole heck of a lot easier when you start growing that email list. Because one of the things that one of my kind of big pet peeves actually in the internet marketing industry is a lot of gurus will get out there and they'll say how to have a 5-figure launch even with no list, how to make 6 figures before 2018 even with no email list. And it's like, and what that tells entrepreneurs who are just getting started or who don't have much of an email list or don't have one at all is like, oh great, you mean I can have 5 figures of income with no email list and it's going to be easy? Like, that's incredible. Right. And that's not 100% untrue, but what the piece that's missing there is the piece that they're not telling you in the marketing is that you need to have people to talk to. You need to have people to make offers to. You need to have people who are seeing your stuff. So if you're not doing that with an email list, then that's okay, but you're going to have to find another way. You're going to have to find another way for people to see your stuff.
What's interesting with any of these programs, even though they promote, hey, make 6 figures without a list, the first thing they teach you is to grow a list.
That's the thing.
Whether by speaking or, hey, if you go to the grocery store and you're talking to somebody and you get their card, then you go home, put them on your list.
Exactly.
So it's sort of interesting because even though you can start without a list, it is such an important, crucial part of business because it's the only way that you can wine and dine people, and it's the only way they can get to know you.
That's exactly right. And the other thing about it is it really does it as your list grows, because everybody starts with no list, everybody starts with 0 people on their email list.
Right.
And that's if that's where you are, or you've got like 12 people or whatever, that's okay. Like everyone starts there everyone started there. Mm-hmm. But as you add those people to your list, then your marketing just gets so much easier and easier and easier, because then when you've got an offer to make, fast forward a few months and you've got a couple hundred people on your list, and then a few months later you've got, maybe 1,000 people on your list, all of a sudden, that's 1,000 people. Like if you think about, like an auditorium in your area, like a theater, a big one that seats 1,000 people, imagine if you were standing on that stage speaking to giving your offer to 1,000 human hearts. Like that's 1,000 people who are potentially going to hear that message. And it just gives you that sort of captive audience to be able to make your offers to. And that's really the beauty of growing a list. And the other thing is that, like you said, it's an opportunity for you to have a way for your people to get to know you. And it's also a way for you to keep the ball in your court. So, like if you're just sending someone to your website and they have no way to get on your email list, or you're just handing someone a business card at a networking event and you're saying, hey, we should connect later, you're really taking a risk and taking a chance that person is ever going to go back through their handbag, fish out the business card, remember who you are, remember what was so cool about your connection, and then go, yeah, I really should follow up with that person. Like you're really taking a risk there. Most of the time, that those kinds of things just don't happen. Or they'll go to your website, they'll be like, yeah, I should give her a call. But it just, we're busy. We're, like you were saying, we're very easily distractible online. And it's like,
even in person, how many times, you're at the store or the gym, you run into somebody you haven't seen in a couple of years. Hey, let's have coffee.
Exactly.
I've missed you. Let's have coffee.
Yeah.
And we don't make an appointment.
Exactly.
Neither of us are going to call. And
right.
Unless somebody takes that initiative.
Exactly.
And that's where the list comes in. I love that viewpoint. I've never heard it described quite that way. And I love that.
Thanks. Yeah. When you've got that person's contact information, you've got that person's email address, then you get to be the one to keep taking initiative. And then when they are ready to buy, when they are in that sort of urgent place where they really, really need your help, you're going to be the obvious person. You're going to be the only logical choice for them to choose as the person to invest in, because they've been hearing from you all this time.
Mm-hmm. One of your core messages is that you can be profitable without a website. This is one of my pet peeves. Is like, you don't need a website. Make 6 figures, make 7 figures without a website. And even though you can, it's getting more and more difficult because of the fact people like to check you out on your website.
Sure.
Having a website makes you more credible. And I do know that
Absolutely.
eventually you do teach people to have a website.
Mhm.
So when do you think is a good time? Because I know whenever you start with your clients, you don't start them off with a website, you start them out with other ways so they
Yeah.
can start making money.
Mhm.
And so how long do you think somebody should wait before they start investing in that website?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I think it does sort of depends on a number of factors. I'll tell you, like you said, a website is definitely a credibility piece. If someone says, hey, I'd like to take a look at your website, it's nice to be able to say, here's my website.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just getting started, where I really recommend you're focusing your attention is on what we were just talking about, which is growing your email list.
Right.
My whole program, I have a membership program where we're just like this cute little awesome community of lovely people who are just working on getting that techie structure together
Mm-hmm.
so that people can start to get things in place to be able to attract and nurture leads, get them on your email list, and kind of start building that business and making money. And the website piece, I really like to see, if you haven't done anything yet at all in your business, you don't have any kind of an online presence, I would say, priority one is start growing your email list. And so that requires you putting together some kind of a little freebie, some kind of a free gift for people to be able to grab. And then the techie stuff. So that's your email marketing tool and like the opt-in
Right.
process. They need a way to give you their actual information and have all that stuff to kind of talking to each other. And then once that's done, then I would say turn your time and attention to, getting your website online.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, like, if you already have a website, that's great. But the reason it's such a good question. The reason I like to encourage people to hold off on the website is because what ends up happening so often with websites is that whether you're hiring it out or whether you're doing it yourself, is it ends up being this massive time suck. And if you're paying somebody to do it, it ends up often being a 4 or sometimes even a 5-figure investment. And if you're not exactly clear on who you want to be serving, what you want your branding colors to look like, what kind, all of those, just like those little kinds of things, very often what happens is people will start a website, they'll drop all this money, all this time, effort, energy into getting their website done. And then after those months and months and months have gone by, sometimes a year, sometimes even a little longer, they're no further ahead in their business. And maybe their branding has actually changed, or
Right.
maybe their ideal client has actually changed in that process. And so I don't actually see anything wrong with somebody, working on their website if they're really committed to, I'm super clear what's going to be on my website. It's not going to be this massive overblown, big, huge production that's going to cost me $14,000
Right.
and it's going to take me 14 months to get it done. If you can get it done in 6 weeks and it's going to be much more affordable and it's not going to totally deplete your resources, then great. It's just for me, for a lot of my clients, the website thing really was a pitfall. It prevented them from getting out there because they felt like I couldn't make any offers. I couldn't make any money until my website was done.
And that is, a fallacy. And I think that we basically teach the same thing, because I always teach a very basic website.
Yeah, me too.
Page, a contact page, and an about me page.
Totally.
And you can have those 3 things in place. You have a web presence, and they can learn a little bit more about you than it's just an opt-in page.
Yep.
So can you share a business strategy with us that our guests can implement in as little as 15 minutes a day?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's right around the theme that we've just been talking about, which is starting to get people on your email list. And really that strategy is just as simple as if you can think of just appending your invitation onto your email list to whatever it is that you're doing in your day. So a lot of times people will be spending, they hear that, going on Facebook is a great way to get clients, or participating in LinkedIn groups is a great way to get clients, or going to a networking event is a great way to get clients. Perfect. All of those things are ways that you can get in front of your really just your perfect prospects. But if you're going to do it, don't just post something and send people to your website, or go on Facebook Live. And often what happens, what I see is people will do like a Facebook Live and then there's no invitation at all at the end. It's just like this really lovely, generous little tip and then nothing. And it's like, okay, well, you're already spending the time anyway. So just take like 12 extra seconds and say, hey, if you thought that this was helpful, I have a free gift that I think would be really amazing for you. It's called blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to put the link in the comments for you to be able to grab it. Or I'm going to put the link in the, like above the post or whatever. Same thing if you're at a networking event, have it on your business card. It's just, in the beginning, when you're just getting started, growing your email list, you're not going to have like an influx of 7,000 people join your email list right out of the gate, but that's okay. It's like, it's all about just like the incremental wins.
Yeah. A lot of people start with their mom, their best friend,
Totally.
their kids,
Everybody does. Everybody does. Your email address from college, like they all totally. Yes.
And, so I do know that you have a great gift to offer our listeners. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, happy to. It's called, it's a little 9-page PDF report. It's super quick and simple. It's called The Only 3 Digital Tools You Need to Get Up, Running, and Profitable Online. And basically it's just kind of like weeding out all the noise with the techie stuff. So if you've ever like thought about, okay, I want to get an email marketing tool, or I'm looking at this tool or that tool, and you've just been kind of overwhelmed by all of the different things that you feel like you need to buy, and then comparing which one's better, like it just kind of cuts out all of that. So it's just like, what is like the bare bones essential, like right steps in the right order, stuff that you need to be able to get your business going online so that you can start monetizing like super quickly.
Right. And it's great little PDF, a fast read. So I do think everybody should go grab it. Any of the links that we mentioned on today's show can be found on bizsuccessin15.com. And you can also re-listen to Kathryn. You can download her show, and you can catch up on past episodes and listen to some of the other top experts. So Kathryn, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
I would just say, I think if you at all have been struggling with the visibility piece, I would just say, do your best to kind of just go for it. I think people are always really shocked to learn that I am like a hardcore introvert, and that it's really difficult for me to be on video, that it's difficult for me to put myself out there. And I know when you're still in like the hiding part of your entrepreneurial journey, you feel like, well, of course she can do it because she's so confident, or of course he can do it because he's got a huge email list. And it's like, you make up these reasons in your head why they can do it, but you still can't. And I would just say, stop doing that, because your message is really important. It matters. And your people are going to love you, but they need to be able to find you first.
And something else neither of us had mentioned, but I know that you have to, and I think we all have, is get support. If you're afraid to be visible and you're afraid to step up, get support. Find your teacher, the one that's right for you, and get support, because, we all need a cheerleader saying, hey, you can do it, because that nobody has ever been a success without a cheerleader in their pocket.
It's so true. Totally.
Okay. And thank you very much for being our guest today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I could chat with you forever about this. And I do want to remind all of our listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to visit bizsuccessin15.com. You definitely want to go there and download Kathryn's 3 tech tips to get started, and none of them are a website.
That's right.
Okay. And so with that, I do want to say big hugs to all of our listeners, and be sure to tune in next week to Biz Success in 15. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show, and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.